Story 1. Late for luck, early for hustle. The morning of March 30 arrived, with a quiet warmth that wrapped around Surabaya like a blanket. It was Eid al-Fitr, one of the most anticipated days of the year. The call to prayer echoed in the distance, accompanied by soft takbir chants drifting through the air like incense smoke, reminding everyone that forgiveness was in season. While most people were pulling out their best clothes and preparing to visit their relatives, I was mentally preparing for a marathon not of festivities but of food service. Still, family came first. As tradition dictated, I joined my father's side of the family at my grandma's house. Her home hadn't changed in years. The same chipping green walls, the rusted gate that cracked when you push it open, and the sweet smell of quakering and clove cigarettes in the air. It all pulled me right back to childhood. Hey, look who finally arrived! My cousin shouted from the front porch as I walked in. Laughter bubbled from the living room where a cluster of aunties were already passing around trays of food. Hugs came in waves, cheeks were pinched, plates were filled. I barely had a moment to breathe before my hands were full with ketupat, opor ayam, and spicy sambal goreng ati. Then came Daniel, my partner in hustle. Bro, you ready for hell later? He greeted me, his usual sarcastic grin plastered across his face. I gave him a playful shove as we joined the others. It was comforting to know I won't be suffering alone that afternoon. We barely had a couple of hours before we needed to leave for our shift at the Grand Royal restaurant, located inside the ever-bustling PTC Mall. Grandma insisted we take home extra food, stuffing nastar into our reused biscuit tin like she was sneaking us contraband. You boys be careful, she said, squishing my hand before we left. Don't let work steal your joy. It was a sweet sentiment, but Surabaya traffic had other plans. The roads were packed with cars, motorbikes, and wandering pedagang kaki lima. By the time we reached the mall, the parking lot was a nightmare. We had to leave our bikes way in the back, practically in another postal code. With barely 10 minutes until our shift began, Danielle and I jogged through the maze of parked cars, dodging strollers and balloon vendors. We arrived 15 minutes late, not our proudest moment. Our manager Pak Yanto was waiting at the entrance. He had a face that could make milk curdle. His arms were crossed, and his expression said everything before he even opened his mouth. Late? On your first day? Nice impression, he said flatly. We are really sorry, Pak, I said, panting. Traffic was insane. He handed us the uniforms without another word and waved toward Section B. You are lucky we are short-staffed. Go. Section B was a battlefield. Tables were crammed with families, toddlers screaming, adults talking over one another, dishes clattering, and the aroma of soy sauce and chili oil in the air. We were immediately swept into the chaos like two leaves caught in whirlpool. The customers didn't care that we were new. They wanted their food. Now. Mas, this isn't what I ordered. Where's my este? I've asked 3 times already. Excuse me, this plate is dirty. By the second hour, I had memorized the table numbers, the menu codes, and where the soy sauce bottles were kept. Daniel and I barely exchanged more than quick glances or the occasional muttered joke when a customer turned their back. Section B is cursed, he whispered at one point. I swear, every child in here has sticky fingers. I nodded toward a toddler wiping chocolate cake on the table. That one starting a mural. Our only break came at 5 p.m. The break room was more like a supply closet with a fan. We sat on upturned buckets and drank a bottle of water we brought from home, stretching our legs and nursing blisters that had formed in record time. Why are we doing this again? Daniel asked. Because college life is expensive and me instant only goes so far, I said. He chuckled. Fair. Back on the floor, time dragged. My legs felt like cement polished. There were moments I wanted to scream into a tray of fried rice, but I kept smiling, kept surfing, kept grinding. One customer actually thanked me sincerely, saying I was the only server who remembered her extra chili sauce without being reminded. It was a small thing, but I held onto the compliment like it was gold. At 9:45 p.m., the last customers were finished their meals. We wiped tables, restocked utensils, and watched as the chaos began to simmer down. By then, we were back at the front, collecting our envelopes. 146 rupiah, not a fortune, but money I earned with every aching muscle and drop of sweat. Daniel opened his envelope beside me and whistled softly. Well, that's one way to earn a gym level leg day. Did we burn 2,000 calories? I asked. More like lost 3 years of our life expectancy, he replied. As we exited the mall, the air felt cooler, quieter. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through messages photos from earlier that day. My little cousin had sent me a video of my grandma dancing in the kitchen with a spatula, laughing at some old joke. My heart swelled with something I couldn't quite name: pride, nostalgia, fatigue, maybe all of them. I miss out on a lot today, I murmured. Daniel glanced at me. Yeah, but we're building something. Feels good to not rely on anyone. He was right. It wasn't the ideal it. No lazy naps or road trips on or Instagram-worthy open house moments. But it was honest. It was ours. When we got back to our parked bikes, I looked up at the sky. No stars, just small lights and the faint glow of the city. I hope tomorrow's quieter, I said. Daniel scoffed. Don't jinx it. We chuckled under our breath as we walked toward the dimly lit parking lot. My legs were jelly. My spine had forgotten what good posture felt like. I could feel the outline of my phone in my pocket. The family photos still fresh in the notifications, but I was too drained to even look again. We hopped on our motorbikes and rode in silence. The cool night wind a small comfort against the throbbing exhaustion. Bro, Daniel called out when we stopped at a red light. You ever think about how we're gonna laugh at all this someday? Probably, after a proper food message and 10 hours of sleep, I replied. He laughed. Deal. Back at home, I peeled off my clothes like they were made of sandpaper. My shoulders groaned in protest. I sank into my bed without bothering to shower, eyes barely open, the faint sound of the city outside my window slowly fading into nothingness. But even as my body screamed for rest, my brain replied, the day, the awkwardness of the first orders, the chaos of the lunch rush, the occasional kindness of strangers, and the bittersweet act of missing out one of the few times a year when family togetherness was at its peak. That night, I dreamed I was still carrying plates in circles endlessly. The next morning, my body felt like it had aged 10 years overnight. I woke up with my face half buried in my pillow, limbs tangled in my blanket like I had wrestled it. My arms were sore, my calves tight. I groaned as I sat up, half limping to the bathroom. As I brushed my teeth, I stared at myself in the mirror. Same tired eyes, same unkempt hair, but something about the expression was different. It wasn't just fatigue, it was purpose, determination, maybe even pride. Sure, we had been late. We had stumbled through orders, but we had done it. We'd pushed through the discomfort, showed up, and earned every rupiah. My mom knocked lightly on the door. You awake? Barely. She slid a plate of her cooking across the counter. You came home really late. Yeah, it was intense, I said, sitting down. She nodded but didn't push further. Parents always had this quiet way of showing concern, no lectures, just gesture, a plate of her cooking, a folded shirt, a glance that lingered a second too long. I packed some fried rice for today, just in case you were rushing again, she added softly. Thanks, Ma. After breakfast, I messaged Daniel. You alive? Barely. My legs don't work. Also, I'm never having Chinese food again unless I'm the one eating it. I smiled and replied, we go again today, better not be late this time. Speak for yourself. I still have trauma for yesterday's chili oil spill. He sent a gif of someone collapsing dramatically onto a porch. I closed my phone and stared at the wall for a second. This wasn't the Eid I grew up with, but it was the Eid I needed. Something about working through the noise, the crowds, the sheer physical grin, it gave the day a meaning that was different, but no less real, and maybe in its own way, even more rewarding.